so good evening and welcome to this nice webinar which we have thought of. The idea is how should one work in these corona times, how to treat patients, how to prepare our clinics, the practical aspect, because we're getting lots of forwards, lots of information on the net, on WhatsApp and various groups. So while talking, I realized that a few people in our group have already started working. I didn't know that many others have also started working. So Darshan has started working in US. So we'll get the US experience. Then Radha is full time at Jupiter. She's already started working. So I said, let's see how Radha, what is her experience. And our friend Dr. Deepak Kulkarni at Pune, he is doing surgical practice, but he's spoken to a lot of dental surgeons and helped them, guided them how to work in the clinics, and they have started working. So these three people are going to talk to us and tell us how they work, and then we'll have a nice discussion. Now we'll follow a particular. The sequence is like this: that first Darshan will speak, then Radha will speak, then Dr. Deepak Kulkarni will speak, and they have Darshan is for 10 minutes, Radha 5 minutes, Deepak for 10 minutes, and after 25 minutes, then we'll have question answers. And the question, can you see the screen? Can you see the picture now?
Yes.
Can you see picture of the party which we had get together on 5th January?
Yeah, we can see.
You?
We can see.
Oh, very good, very good. So well, this is it was so nice that on 5th Jan we didn't know what we are going to face in 3-4 months. Anyway, this will also pass. So let us now start this webinar. And I request Darshan. Darshan is, after he did his BDS, he went to US, did his MS, then he did his degree, diploma, I don't know what it is called, Darshan tell us, in pediatric dentistry, and he's practicing pediatric dentistry for last 20 years, and he's at San Diego. Darshan, go ahead. Yeah, Darshan, Radha and Deepak.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
Yes.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody, and it's so good to see all of you and your names. And it says 101 participants, so that's a good number, I think, right? 101 is an awesome number. I'll be quick. 10 minutes is what I have. I will go through what we've done so far and why really quickly, and then that'll be my time. So here we go. Sharing screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All good? Everybody go?
Oh, absolute.
Yeah.
Good, we can see.
All right, perfect. So I bet you've seen this this photograph going around on social media. Initially when you hear about coronavirus and how quickly it spreads and aerosols and all the fear mongering that's going around, this is the impression that one gets. There's that to practice. This is what we'll have to do. Wrap everything up, unwrap everything between patients. Wear some gear that protects you, like you're going into germ warfare zones or some kind of nuclear disaster. Those kind of conditions seem to be what people want you to believe in terms of what your practice should look like if you were to practice safely. So this is one extreme, and this might be another extreme where it's like nothing happened. We should just go on and work like we used to. It's no big deal. They're just making it up. So obviously, reality and practicality is somewhere in between these two extremes of how we should be practicing. I have been working at Children's Hospital. I've gone there about 3-4 times while we were under lockdown here. I've seen a few patients in the office, and on Monday we actually start seeing our normal schedules. So what I tell you will probably change as we do this in real life. But we have put things together to the best of our abilities and based on what the recommendations are, so that we provide care safely for our patients and also make it safe for ourselves and our staff, because we are the ones who are going to be in those offices the longest. Your patients will be there for much shorter periods of time than you yourself, or your and your staff. So you and your staff should be number one priority. And then if you take care of yourselves, by default, you will take care of your patients. So in every country, there is an organization that you have to essentially not argue with, right? So there might be 500 voices speaking and telling you what you should do. So in the US, you have CDC, you have OSHA, you have CDA, you have ADA, you have the state government, you have the county government, you have the county health officer, you have the state's governor, and everybody seems to have an opinion about when you should start and what you should do. So it's really important to know who the boss is. Once you know who your boss is, then it's easier to follow guidelines and it's easier to stay in compliance. So the way I see it in the US, OSHA is what you worry about, because OSHA is what will come check whether you're complying with guidelines or not. If you comply with OSHA guidelines, you can easily defend yourself if the state, the county, the governor, the CDC, anybody comes looking. As long as you stay compliant, reasonably compliant, or compliant to the best of your abilities given circumstances, with OSHA recommendations, then you're going to be fine. And so my preparation for our office has been based on those recommendations. So we'll go through those. And they break it down into different levels. So the first level we'll talk about is administrative controls. And every country might call these different things. As we go through them, you'll see that it's essentially the same concept. I saw this video that was shared on the group yesterday. Saw quite a few famous names in dentistry in India talking about tips and recommendations on how to be safely practice dentistry. And it's all the same stuff, just called different things. So this is what it's called here in the US. Administrative controls, and what that involves is this nice cheat sheet. And I don't remember if I shared this with the group, but if I have not, I will send it on the WhatsApp group. But I think this is a very nice illustration of what everybody should be doing, and this might be probably the minimum that everybody should be doing. You can always do more in terms of screening patients, right? So the first thing ideally is you don't want somebody who is COVID positive to come sit in your waiting room to be treated by you. We all want to treat people who are not sick, who don't have the infection, so that things don't get passed around. So 24 hours prior to the appointment, you call and say, hey, are you okay? Are you sick? Anybody in the family sick? You can also have them submit the triage form if you want to be thorough by text or email, so it's in writing. Everybody wears a mask. Then you do the same checklist once they enter your office. We've asked this question twice, at least twice. You check the temperature. The way this disease is transmitted is to two things. One is either your face, your nose and mouth is exposed, or if your hands are dirty. So once you take care of those two parts, patients visiting your office are relatively safe, except for the time, obviously, when you're providing care, because now they've taken their mask off. But at all other times, you want them to have their mask on. In our case, all the kids that come into the practice and their parents will be wearing masks when they are in the office, except when I'm providing care to the child. We also want them to either wash their hands or use hand sanitizer. I'm going to have them use hand sanitizer, because if they wash their hands, now I have to clean everything around the sink and disinfect that area before the next person comes. As far as the 6 feet distance goes, you can, you can do that if you like, but what most people are doing is asking patients to stay in their cars and calling them when they're ready for them. So you don't have people in your waiting room as far as possible. And with texting and WhatsApp and some other software that you might use in your offices, that is so easy now that you really should be able to avoid very easily people sitting in your. Once they're seated, they use a mouth rinse. You can do povidone iodine, hydrogen peroxide, whatever you prefer, and then these patients will be treated. And so this is pretty basic, pretty standard. This was shared by this office on social media. I bet it won't hurt their feelings if you copy this and customize it for your own practices, because I think this really makes it easy to understand what you're doing to keep your patients safe. All right, where did I? I've lost my controls. So I was made the host of this thing, and then I approved some annotation rights for people, and now I can't move my slides. So if anybody has any suggestion, let me know.
Trying it out in हाँ जी हाँ हाँ
All right, here we go. Perfect. Yes, Dr. Sharma, I will email that. I'll share this on the. I will share this on the WhatsApp group, so everybody will have it.
ये जो treasure chest.
Let's see.
That's fine, Rajan. That's fine.
Yeah, I think we need to mute people again.
Yeah, please mute your microphones. And we have crossed more than 100. Some people are waiting in the queue. I'm trying to make some arrangement so that we can accommodate them. Okay? Have patience. Please mute your microphones.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep going. So we have personal protective equipment. That's the next thing that everybody is worried about. And I'm sorry, this is not very clear, but this was shared in the document that I sent on WhatsApp yesterday about the guidelines or the protocols that we are using in my office. I thought that this was a very practical way of approaching it in terms of what PPE to use. Again, please follow the regulations that you have in your particular area, but this is what the CDC is okay with. You use the best PPE that you have. So first you screen, then you use the best PPE that you have. You can use the N95 or KN95. If you use those, you can put a mask to cover it to protect the mask itself. If you don't have enough of those, you use after every patient. Gowns should be disposable, or you can wash them, and you only change them if you've done a PPE. You've done an aerosol generating procedure, or if they're visibly soiled. They want you to wear a hair cover, but it's not mandatory. And the scrubs under the gown, you don't want your staff to take them home as possible. You want them laundered on site. If people take them home, the recommendation is to put it in a washable bag. So when they go home, not only do they wash the scrubs, but they also wash the bag that was holding the dirty scrubs. And lots of hand washing and hand sanitization in between patients, before patients, after patients, when you enter the office, when you leave the office. So lots and lots of hand sanitizer. So the way these are described are based on what procedure are you doing? Are you going to be exposed to an extra amount of corona, usual amounts of corona, or light amounts of corona? And then based on that is how you pick your PPE. So if you have the highest risk, you're doing an aerosol generating procedure or an AGP, and you're doing using a handpiece, you're using an ultrasonic scaler, then your best advice to use the most amount of PPE you use for that procedure. You can use the N95, you can reuse it if needed, if you don't have enough, and there are many different recommendations on how to reuse it. Personally, my feeling is that if you reuse anything like an N95 mask, you have to be sure that the way you sterilize it or disinfect it doesn't inadvertently end up damaging the mask. The last thing you want to do is have this N95 mask which the manufacturer put in a lot of hours and testing of technology, and then you steamed it or you exposed it to UV or you microwaved it, or whatever, or you used hydrogen peroxide steam. There's so many different ways that are being recommended, but none of them have been tested by the manufacturer to see that after you subject that mask to that particular method of sterilization, that it still retains its ability to filter effectively. So, I don't know if that is a good idea, but whatever your local governing body says, if you use a level 3 mask and dispose it, or a KN95 mask for one day and dispose it, I think to me that is a better way to go. But again, do what is best and recommended in your local area. Also, for the highest risk category, you want to use a head cap and a face shield is mandatory. Now, as the risk of aerosols goes down, you may not need a gown. You don't need the N95 mask. You could use a surgical mask. You could just do a face shield and a cap. And then as the risk goes down, now you can just wear a lab jacket. So something to think about. So you're not using the same level of PPE for a checkup and a comprehensive operative procedure, or for a surgical extraction, or for scaling and root planing, and after you raise a flap for gum surgery. So these are the different things that I tried. You can see on the left that white device is called a PAPR, PAPR, Powered Air Purifying Respirator. So essentially, it's a hood that covers everything. It's got an airflow that comes in from behind. It's positive pressure. It's pushing air down this way, and then the air gets exhaled through a HEPA filter. So if you were working on a patient who is known to be COVID positive or is suspected to be COVID positive, then this is what the CDC is recommending, the white PAPR device, or there's also a variation called the CAPR device. The picture on my right or your left is what I wore when I worked at Children's Hospital. So what you see is a head cover, you see a face shield, the loops and the light source are under the shield, nothing is sticking out. You see a surgical mask, but below the surgical mask there is a N95 mask, which this was the third day that I used the mask, and Children's Hospital had been sterilizing it using UV light. I'm assuming, did the test for that particular brand of mask and were confident that that was safe to do. But as a private practitioner, you may not have the means of testing your N95 masks if you've repeatedly sterilized them or disinfected. The next thing after PPE is you've protected yourself, but what about the patient? Just to put it out there, I personally believe that if we are going to do aerosol generating procedure, when it is available, we should test our patients. We should be doing the PCR test to see if a patient is actively shedding virus, because the antibody tests are late latifs. The positives don't show up till about 4 or 5 days after exposure, whereas the PCR test, even though they have quite a few, about 15 to 35% false negatives, you still get positive results on the remaining patients, and that happens in the asymptomatic and pre-symptomatic patients. So, once it becomes available, I think we should do it, especially if we still are under high levels of infection. And then finally, after that, so these are your administrative controls, PPE, testing, and then finally you have your engineering controls. So this is the thing that you've done to make your office safe. So I'll go over stuff that we have done. and then again, follow the guidelines that are given to you. The engineering controls are pretty simple. Some of them are as simple as putting a barrier between, say, your check-in counter and the place where your patients or patients' parents will stand, so that if they sneeze or if they splatter saliva while they're talking, your check-in staff and your checkout staff is not exposed to that splatter and saliva. And then it goes on to many levels. You have high volume suction in the operatory. You have extraoral suction. You can improve your air circulation, which is highly recommended. You do HEPA filters. You can do electrostatic filters. UVC, UVGI. Far UVC is something that you can expose your patients and yourself to while you're working. You don't have to shut the door. It can stay on all the time. It's new technology. Not tested yet, wouldn't recommend it, but just so you've heard the name, it's called far UVC. And then after that, it's just a joke. There is nothing called Farad UVC. But there are things called ion generators, and finally fogging with HOCl or hypochlorous acid. So I don't know if you have looked into this or thought about this, but this is gaining popularity here in the US. Hypochlorous acid is made by passing an electric current through a mix of water, vinegar, and salt without iodine. Those are the ingredients: water, vinegar, and salt without iodine. And you have to electrolyze it, and what you get is a very mild acid with the right proportions, and it can be sprayed in the room, and we'll look at all that also. All right. So this is what we got installed in our rooms, in the treatment rooms. You can see the HEPA air purifier that's sitting in the ceiling. Most offices in India, in the US, have this kind of a ceiling. A T-grade ceiling is what it's called, and it has space above that ceiling, above those ceiling tiles, so you can move things around within limits. And so we were able to install a HEPA air purifier. And I chose to put it close to where the patient's head would be. So we would hopefully be efficient in clearing the aerosols in that area. If that is not an option, you can buy air purifiers that sit on the floor. And those obviously are portable. They're so much easier to maintain in terms of changing the filter, replacing the UV light, and changing the carbon filter. All these things get expensive. But if you're going to essentially recirculate air and not have the option of getting rid of air by cross ventilation or using an exhaust fan, those would be ideal. If you can literally get rid of the air in your office, that would be fantastic. You have cross ventilation, you have great airflow. Those air changes are much more preferable. But if that is not an option, if you have an office that's closed, it's air conditioned, you can't make a hole in the ceiling, a hole in the wall, and exhaust everything, then you should try your best to at least filter the air multiple times in an hour, the air that is getting recirculated in the office. So these are some options. And the options that you see are both these things we have. The ones in the ceiling are already installed, and the ones that will sit on the floor have been ordered and should be in the next week or so. The other option is high volume evacuation. So many studies show that if you just use high volume suction, you catch close to 90%, as long as it's positioned close to the patient's mouth, preferably inside the patient's mouth as you're working, you catch up to 90% of the aerosol. So that's an easy way of controlling this. This device is actually something to be used for photography equipment, to hold reflectors and or flashlights, what have you, in the right places. But there are so many clever people, and fortunately people are sharing things on social media. So this is an easy way of holding the high volume close to the patient's mouth if you don't have an assistant. This is our operatory, and you can see a few things there, and I'll just kind of go over stuff. You'll see a lot of places that are touched quite often are now, and they should always have been covered by barriers. So you see the pink barriers. The chair is covered completely with plastic. on the countertop, there are very few things. Only the things that we need to treat this particular patient are on the counter. Everything else has been put away. Right, and there's barriers on everything that we use. You also see that elephant trunk kind of unit sitting there. That is the extraoral suction. That is the new trend here. Some people are buying into it, others are not. Some people practice in areas where they have very aggressive dentists telling everybody what they've done to make their office safe. And so you have to keep up with the Joneses. So you end up buying a bunch of equipment, not because you firmly believe that it works or because your governing body has told you that you need it. You do it just because your patients are looking you up on social media and saying, you don't have this, then you must not be as good a dentist. You don't care about your patients enough. So some of these methods may end up being used not because they are scientifically proven, but because that's what your local dentists are doing, and so you essentially have to keep up. So this is what it sounds like. So that's the extraoral suction. It's going to sit very close to the patient's mouth and help evacuate aerosols that you're producing while you're preparing teeth or you're doing ultrasonic scaling. This is the other thing I told you I'd talk to you about. So this is the fogger, and we use hypochlorous acid. And the nice thing about hypochlorous acid is it's non-toxic, so you don't even have to wear gloves. You don't have to wipe down those surfaces after using it. It's 30 seconds of spraying in a room, and then you let it sit for 5 minutes. It dries by itself. You don't have to wipe it down. You're good to go for your next patient. What the concept that Dr. Leslie Fang from Docs Education is promoting is that when you use this hypochlorous acid, what it does is essentially it wets the aerosol. So whatever is hanging around in the air gets wet and drops down. And now as it drops down, the hypochlorous acid has time to then kill the viruses and bacteria that now have settled to the floor because it comes down with those viruses and bacteria. So you did everything to make sure, one, your patient did not have the virus to begin with as far as possible. Two, to evacuate as much of that aerosol while you were doing your procedure by using extraoral and intraoral HVE for sure, but extraoral also. Finally, whatever escaped into the air, you've tried to clear with HEPA filters. And then even after that, if you still want to go the extra mile, you can fog. And this is a quick way of fogging. This actually allows you to see your patients quickly, bring one in after another quickly, and not have to wait for 3 hours between patients. As long as you use this product, it's called hypochlorous acid, and I'm happy to share that information on the WhatsApp group. Sounds like. So this is again a nice illustration of things that to protect yourself, and also something that you might be able to share with your patients as to what you're doing. This is a cartoon, so you can see the dentist is wide-eyed with the barrage of things that they've had to do to keep things safe. But you can check off on these things one by one and kind of make a list of things that you've done to make yourself and your office safe. Basic stuff from hand soap, hand sanitizer, all the way to negative pressure rooms. If you get to that point, you might as well be dead. So things, it's a nice checklist, something that I will share again on the WhatsApp group. So you will have access to this and potentially customize this so you can share with your patients and your staff. The most important thing I want everybody to know is, as of yesterday, this is the information on our CDC website, is that there have no clusters have been reported yet in a dental setting or dental personnel. Essentially, they have not found any evidence that even before all this started, before we all got paranoid and shut down, there were a lot of people, I'm sure, who were positive and got seen. In spite of that, and not just in our country, but I'm sure in other countries, they have not been able to identify any clusters that they could trace back to a dentist. So I think that is great news. That should reassure all of us, and that's something that you can share with your patients and your parents and your staff. So they know that they're in a safe place when they come see you. All right, that's my presentation. Thanks so much for your patience and your time. Again, I'll share all the little posters and information on hypochlorous acid on the WhatsApp group. Thank you, everyone. So good to see you.
Thank you, Darshan. You've done a good job. You've given us a lot of information. So let's now go ahead, my dear Radha. Please, Radha, please go ahead.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
तिथे कुठल्या हॉस्पिटलमध्ये करते ना काम.
Darshan sir, you have to stop sharing your screen.
Okay, 1 second. Here we go. Thank you. Sorry about that.
मी ना काय बसली बघ आरामात. हा?
Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah. We are able to see your
So
screen.
a lot of information has already been shared by Dr. Darshan. So little bit to that I will add as to how I'm working in this Indian scenario. I work in a tertiary care hospital in Thane, Jupiter Hospital, and I started working from 1st of April. Earlier I used to work twice a week. Now I have started working thrice a week. So this is how we go about it. So first, when the patient calls up, we try to make sure, or we try to solve their problems on phone rather than calling them physically for a checkup if that is possible. We try and solve their problems over phone, or if they are too elderly, above 70, we usually don't prefer them coming over for a checkup. Second, so if it is teleconsultation is possible, then we do that. Next will be if the patient, if he is not happy with the phone teleconsultation, then we call over the patient. So first we start with screening of the patient. Since I work with hospital, it's easier because screening of patients is done outside. So they are screened with an infrared contactless thermometer. History has been taken for any contact with COVID positive patient or any travel history in the last 14 days, and also the current address of the patient as to are they from red zone. If any of the history is positive, if any symptoms, they are directly sent to the fever OPD. In fever OPD, they have their checkup with regular physicians, and if the physician gives consent, then only we take the patient to dental OPD. Now in dental OPD, what all things that we do to minimize contact and minimize risk. Now here we keep our doors open so that to minimize contact with the handles. Now sanitize hands of the patient with hand sanitizers, then take the self-declaration form, fill a consent, and then after doing all this at the reception, the patient comes to the operatory. In the operatory also, we first ask the patient to sanitize their hands. We do an extraoral scrub. We ask the patient to rinse with povidone iodine. And most of the procedures we do is under the rubber dam. And as of now, we've not started using aerotas. We are just using slow speed micromotor to work. I think after we get all those air filters and everything in place, till that we'll not be doing the aerosol generating procedures. So to minimize contact, post-op instructions are also given verbally. They are asked to take a picture of the post-op instructions rather than handing them out papers, which can also be a reason for transmission of the virus. And obviously transactions are done cashless. These are some clinical tips that the doctors can do. So instruct the assistants to keep everything ready, whatever you need for the patient, so that they don't have to contact the drawers, cupboards. So as much as the assistants are instructed that you're not supposed to contact other places, it should be just the patient and the So use of high vac suctions all the time, extraoral suction. RVG we are using only and only if it's absolutely necessary. We send the patient for OPG whenever it is possible. If RVG is unavoidable, we use triple sleeves, RVG sleeve. The first sleeve is discarded by the operator, the second sleeve by the assistant. The first sleeve is discarded by the patient, second sleeve by the doctor, and third by the assistant. Okay, so what procedures am I doing right now is just consultations, extractions, emergency RC openings, and BMP. Till we get fully equipped to treat all the aerosol generating procedures, these are the only procedures as of now that we are doing. Now, what are the measures that we follow after the patient has left your operatory? So after the patient has left, we make sure to clean all the surfaces with sodium hypochlorite solution. Mop the flooring also with the sodium hypochlorite solution. We prefer spraying sodium hypochlorite solution on the PPE that we wear before doffing. I don't know whether it helps, but we do it so that we can reduce the viral load. These are the few steps of donning and doffing of the PPE. There is a separate room for donning and doffing of the PPE. And these are the pictures that I've taken wearing the PPE. We use a face shield, an eyewear. There are different PPEs that we have tried over the past month. I found the middle one to be the best because it is of thicker GSM and it effectively covers everything. The zipper at times tends to open up, which is not the problem with the second PPE. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. Any questions we can do at the end of the session? Over to you, sir. Hello.
Sir, busy.
Hello.
Yes, Radha, I had to unmute
Yes.
my microphone. Well
Yeah.
done, Radha. Superb, sparkling inning in a short time. That excellent job. And this is the Indian. The word is scenario. I like Indian scenario. It's good. Darshan must be, must have liked this. Darshan, thank you very much, and Radha, wonderful. Balo, both of you done very good, very well. Now comes the, two down, Deepak Kulkarni, the great cricketer.
Yes.
Deepak has been I forgot to introduce Radha to you properly. Radha has done BDS, then she did her diploma in implantology, and now she is working at Jupiter. So now we have Dr. Deepak Kulkarni. Dr. Deepak Kulkarni is my colleague, maxillofacial surgeon, oral maxillofacial surgeon. He was Dean of D.R. Patil Dental College at Pimpri. Now he's in private practice. He's attached to a couple of hospitals. And as I told you, he is a very encouraging gentleman who he wants people to work. Okay, Deepak, go ahead. Not sit at home.
Okay, thank you very much, boss. It's really a pleasure to see Darshan after a long time. So, Darshan, good morning. How are you doing this morning? Good? Yeah. So, good evening, everyone. And again, thank you, Dr. Dabir, for giving me this opportunity to participate in this webinar. So, the title is This is How I Work in the Current Times. All this presentation that I'm going to make is based on the experience of my 40 years in working in OT and following certain protocol as far as infection control is concerned. And I remember the year 1985 when HIV infection, erupted, and there was a lot of chaos all around the world. And that time, Dr. Dabir and myself, we used to lecture for IDA and talk on infection control. That time, none of us had great experience, so we referred to OSHA guidelines, which Darshan has already mentioned about, and that is how we lectured. I never imagined that after 35 years I'll have to come again and talk on this particular topic. Let's see some sequence of event. In February 20, there was news coming in the newspaper on the channel. There is some kind of COVID-19 or new type of virus is coming up, and it's of Chinese origin, and it's all come because of the eating habits of the Chinese. People didn't pay much of attention, but at that time, in one of the hospitals that I was visiting, Pune, only the watchmen in the parking area were given masks, not the doctors, not the receptionists, not the nurses, not the ward boys. So it was another hoax. We used to laugh it out. Slowly the things start going, and then the news from, especially from Europe, started coming in, and it was really a little scary picture. And everyone is saying that no one knows how this coronavirus behaves, so you never know what's going to happen. And our dear Prime Minister Narendra Modi, somewhere around 18th or 20th of March, said that on March 22, we'll have a Janta curfew for 14 hours, for 7 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock in the evening. At that time, the bell rang saying that probably we are heading for the lockdown. So from March 22nd, that was Sunday, but from March 23rd, I kept my clinic closed. And, like I was locked down, and I was not allowed to get out of the house. First 3-4 days or first 1 week was good enough. I started doing some gardening, helping my wife in cooking, cleaning the house and all, because maid servants and all were not coming. But as the days went on, I was really getting exasperated, because a person of my type, where I need a physical activity, I was locked down to my house, and I really was not that. But somehow on 13th April, there was a new hope for me. There was a new hope for me, in the sense, in the evening around, it was Monday, I remember, in the evening around 5 o'clock, I got a call from Sancheti Hospital saying that, sir, there are 4 patients who have come for, we met with the RTA, and there are 2 patients with facial fractures. I was so happy to get out of the house. Not that I was not happy that I am getting some money out of it, but then I wanted to see few vehicles, I wanted to see few human faces besides my wife's face. And then when I went to Sancheti Hospital, I talked to doctors first, I talked to nurses, and then after 10 minutes I saw the patient, out of which 4 had polytrauma also. So we operated, and 2 patients had maxillary fracture. So I operated on 1 patient on 14th of April, and then on 16th of April, I operated on another patient. But for next 10 days, I was making a visit to Sancheti Hospital every day to follow up and everything. So those 10 days from 13th April to say 23rd April were achhe din for me. But then again, after 25th of April, 1 month of lockdown was over. I really started feeling jittery. I was not going to clinic, again stand up. So I was talking to our friends that, for how long we are going to wait. Now this is lockdown 1. Is it going to be 2, 3, 4 or any more? We didn't know. And everyone was saying, including WHO, that Corona is here to stay. So we have to live with Corona. So we must get back to the work. And then how do we get back to the work? So these are my friends whom we meet at least once or twice in a week. Ron Jimenez is on your left, is a prosthodontic. Paresh, of course, knows, is on the golf course, and Date with the puppy. And of course, we discussed, we decided to come down to some protocol, and naturally, without asking boss, Jayesh and Mukul, we couldn't proceed. So the consultations were going on phone, and then we came out with a protocol which was based on the principles of physical barrier, asepsis, and sterilization. Okay. Now, before I go on to next slide, I would like to thank 2 people here. That is Dr. Sanjay Kulkarni, and the next person will be Dr. Nikhil Fadke. Now, this Dr. Sanjay Kulkarni is a MD in pathology and microbiology. He is a hospital infection control consultant, experience of 24 years, consultation to more than 130 hospitals. And when I was a dean at Dr. D.Y. Patil Dental College, he worked with me for 1 year, and he helped us in the infection control at the dental college. So some guidelines he has given me. He has given me a lot of information. He has given me knowledge and suggestions also to form the protocol. The next person here I would like to thank is Dr. Nikhil Fadke, who has done his PhD from University of Michigan, and is a molecular geneticist. He has a laboratory called a GenPath in Pune, which is the third largest laboratory in Pune. I just 2 days back I spoke to him about the vaccine that is expected for COVID-19, and in my presentation we will talk about that little later. So he is now like testing more than 100 samples per day in Pune. So I want to thank these people. So with the help of these people, we have formed a clinical protocol, and actually all of us, including myself and my dental surgeon friends, have started following it. What is that protocol? Patients call for appointment. So you do certain things. I'll not give the details here, but I already put these details on the WhatsApp group of BUS, my associate union. Then reception area protocol, what do you do when the patient comes in? Then the personal protection for the staff. Then beginning a procedure. During the procedure, what do you do? And post procedure, what do you do? How do you clean, disinfect and sterilize the instruments? And how do you disinfect the clinic? This is the protocol, and the details are already given. If anyone is interested, I can share it with them later. Now this is the photograph which was shot in Sancheti Hospital operation just before the major surgery was started. You can see here I am wearing a cap, a face mask, two double surgical mask, and look at the gown, especially the front side of the gown is shining. It's a special material. This is water impermeable. It is difficult to use disposable gowns all the time for two reasons: the keeping the inventory and the taking care of the biomedical waste. So this is something, and this particular gown I have been using in Sancheti Hospital for almost 10 years, and then I said, and it never struck me that we can probably use it in our dental clinic. But when this coronavirus thing came up, and when we were discussing that how do we get back, because we are worried more about the aerosol, that is what the dental surgeons were saying. So I said, why can't we try this? And now we have, I am not saying that we have designed, I have copied that design from Sancheti Hospital, but we have designed this. The full sleeves are made up of this particular material, which is water impermeable. The front side is also of that particular material, and from inside the lining is of the terracotta. Some of the participants in this webinar are already using it. So this is to show Dr. Paresh Ka's clinic with Paresh, with all the gear that possible, the head cap, the face shield, the mask, the gown that we have specially tailored, and the gloves. And the same protection equipment we give to the assistants also, because they are equally important. Now, as far as asepsis is concerned, let's go back to the basics of third BDS. What is the difference between asepsis and sterilization? Asepsis is reducing the number of bacteria, and sterilization killing the microorganism, including spores. As simple as that. These are the two chemicals that are recommended by Dr. Sanjay Kulkarni, earlier whom I showed. One is Bacillocid Special, which is manufactured by Raman and Will, and the other is sodium hypochlorite solution, which is between 4% and 6% concentration. Now the dilutions that are to be used is written on this particular brochure. Everyone can go to that, and all the surfaces, including your chair, unit, the working tops and everything, are to be cleaned by Bacillocid Special, and the flooring is to be cleaned by sodium hypochlorite. Again the dilution and everything is given, but when you clean your flooring with the sodium hypochlorite, keep that floor wet for 1 minute and then put on the fans to dry it. Sterilization, of course, there is no alternative to autoclaving, so I need not talk more about that. Now, for last 3 months, there has been, as Darshan has mentioned or Radha has mentioned, there is so much message and so much of information, whether it is correct or not, on WhatsApp, email and Facebook and so on and so forth. So, and staying away from your professional life for more than 45 days, one gets confused and says, how long do I wait before I join my clinic? Now, there are people who say that, boss, let's wait till the herd immunity we get, or let's wait because we are expecting a vaccine. What is the hurry? The important fact about the herd immunity is minimum 50% of the population needs to contract the virus. That means out of 130 crores in India, minimum 65 crores, from Bombay minimum 1.10 crore, and from Pune minimum 20 lakh people should get or should get infected. Then only we will have the herd immunity. The vaccine, it's a distant possibility because HIV still does not have a vaccine even after 40 years. Okay, so getting a vaccine for COVID-19 is a distant possibility. Recently in New York Times on 20th April, 30th April, there was an article that was published that how long will a vaccine really take? And if you see all the steps that are conducted or that are taken to prepare a vaccine, is right from academic research and it goes up to distribution level. So if you see here, if you start your academic research in 2020, the vaccine will be ready or distributed by May 2036. That will take another 15 to 16 years. Okay, with modern technology, even if this particular process is compressed, the vaccine will not come before 18 months. And even if it comes after 18 months, will it be really effective? No one knows about it. So my only suggestion is that do it the safe way, do it the right way, and do it every day. This particular presentation is, to boost the confidence among the people, because I have already started working. My friend Dr. Paresh Kade, who is an implantologist, has also started working from 2nd May. And he is doing all the procedures, and we are following all the things that are possible. So whatever I have suggested is all doable in India, and only thing you have to follow a strict discipline. But whatever I have suggested, it's not to force you into practice. You have to close your clinic. But then if you are thinking about it, you can go ahead. Or of course, it all depends upon the city in which you work, the area in which your clinic is present, and the manpower that you have with you. So I think it a positive way. Thank you. Dr. Dabir?
Unbelievable.
Over to you, Dr. Dabir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. You are unbelievable. You really kept yourself to the time, and excellent presentation. Very practical. So now let us follow a certain sequence of question answer, because I know there are a lot of you want to ask some questions, want to contribute, and everybody is welcome here. What we'll do is we'll first ask questions to Darshan, then to Radha and to Deepak. And so please mute your microphones. The person who wants to ask a question should just, I know I can't see everybody here, but you unmute and ask questions. Or another method is to use, write in the chat, can you write your questions? That would be a good idea if you can, in the chat, write your questions.
Or they can raise hands also. They can raise their hand.
Okay, and let's see, try this. I didn't know that so many people are going to log on. See, I'm so sorry some people are not able to log on, because this particular WebEx allows you 100 people. The idea why we selected WebEx to Zoom, because Zoom, there's only 40 minutes and then you have to do some things to get extra time. But then our associates are not more than 60, 70, but somehow their number is large, more than 100. The popularity of our speakers looks like. Anyway, please put your questions on chat, that would be much better. And as Dr. Deepak Kulkarni says, you raise your hand, then you'll have to, switch on your video cameras. So, anyway, so Darshan, questions go to you first. Start, gentlemen. Anybody wants to ask? Ladies and gentlemen, who wants to ask a question, please raise your hand. First, switch on your video cameras so we can see your raising hand. Then I will have to draw lotteries.
Who is the host? Darshan is the host and
Darshan, you are the host right now.
Okay, so I'm looking at the questions here, and let's see here. I have questions for Dr. Kulkarni.
Yes.
More than anything else. The questions are about what fumigant is available in India, and then how do you disinfect material used for treatment, and then the PPE that's mentioned by Dr. Kulkarni. Dr. Kulkarni, they're all for you.
Yeah. Can you repeat? The first question
is how do you what is the name of the material that was used for the gowns, and how do you get the gowns?
No, there is no name for that, but it is something like umbrella. It's an umbrella cloth, and we have tested it. That's why we have put the terracotta from inside. So any aerosol that drops on your chest or on your tummy or on your thighs, it doesn't go inside, doesn't touch your body. There is no name. This is a tailor-made. There is a lady in Pune who does this, and I had given her the design, and she got it done from me. I distributed about 55 such gowns to various dental surgeons currently. Another 55 are in the pipeline.
Okay. Darshan, can I ask you one question? What do you think? This is a question about fogger. Which is better, fumigator or fogger?
I honestly am not sure what the difference is between fumigator and fogger. The idea is to make sure that you create a mist that is fine enough to go to all the surfaces and areas of your room that you would normally not be able to reach. As far as the hypochlorous acid, the HOCl or hypochlorous acid goes, you will have to either buy a commercially manufactured preparation, or you can actually make it if you have the kettle that you can use for electrolysis. So in the US, there are two ways of getting hypochlorous acid. You can buy hypochlorous acid that is manufactured by different companies. They send it to you, then you dilute it down to 200 ppm for fogging. You can use a lower concentration even in your water lines, and the science behind using hypochlorous acid is still evolving. I think this is something that is relatively new for us in the US. I think the Koreans have been using it for a while. So as time goes on, the guidance on terms of the concentration of hypochlorous acid, can we use it in our water for as an irrigant instead of just plain water? Can we use it as an irrigant with our high-speed handpieces and ultrasonics? All those would be interesting things that will come with time. For now, only fogging is what I know about. And I do not know if it's available readily in India, but I think it's non-toxic. It's easy to use. Your room smells a little like the swimming pool because of the chlorine in it. But that's not the worst thing to have.
Beta, there is one question to you. How much time gap between patients and how many patients in practice in a day?
So that is a very important question, and the reason that you see that I might seem like I have gone overboard in all the things that we've bought for the office is because we are a pediatric dental office, and all of us have certain models, so to speak, if we are going to be able to stay viable as a healthcare provider. We obviously want to provide the highest level of care for our patients, but as we slowly think about returning to practice, we also need to make sure that you can actually stay in business, seeing the number of patients that you're seeing, having to pay the rent that you're paying, having to pay your staff, all those things. When you consider all those things, you have to figure out how do you see the number of patients that you need to see. And that's why I kind of went to the extreme of let me get every toy there is so that I can, one, reassure my staff and my patients that we are a safe place to come to. Two, how can I clean it? Because that seems to be the biggest concern people have. Surface detection is something that we have always, that is not something new. We've always had barriers on us, wipe things down between patients. That has never been a problem. So the new thing that we have to deal with is now the potential for aerosol in the operatory after you do an aerosol generating procedure, with the potential, in the same concept as universal precautions. You're going to be patients as if they were COVID positive. If you go according to those guidelines, now you have to make sure that you clear the air between patients. And so those HEPA filters which move the air quickly, the fogger which brings down the aerosol, will be of value. As far as the filters go, it's a very easy way of calculating. If you look at the volume of your space, let's just to make it easy because math is not my strong suit. Let's say your space is 1,000 cubic feet. So your office area is 10 feet by 10 feet by 10 feet, right? Length, width, and height. Let's say it's 1,000 square feet. Now it might be 12 by 9 by 9, 12 by 8 by 10. You could have some variations, but just to make it easy, let's say your office space was 1,000 cubic feet. You went to the market and you bought a HEPA filter which said that it could run air at 100 CFM. 100 CFM is 100 cubic feet per minute. So every minute it's moving 100 cubic feet of air, and you have a space that is 1,000 cubic feet. So essentially every 10 minutes, this filter is potentially able to move all that air through it and filter it. Things will change based on where you put the filter. It obviously will not be in the middle of your room. Also, that filter is probably going to be obstructed not intentionally, but the airflow will be obstructed by your chair, by people, by your cabinets. And so, if you buy a 100 CFM HEPA purifier, you might not get an air change every 10 minutes, but you will get it every 12 minutes or 13 minutes. And as you buy air purifiers that are more powerful, that move air at higher CFMs, then obviously the air in your room will get cleared faster. The fastest way to clear air is to open your doors and windows.
Yeah.
If you can do that, if you have the ability to do that, that is the easiest way to do it. If you do not have the ability to do that, then you have to buy all these toys.
Okay, thank you, Darshan. Thank you very much. Now, I think there is another simple thing would be to install couple of powerful exhaust fans. But the problem, this is for our problem is getting very hot in India. If you open the doors and windows, or if you use exhaust fan, by the time air gets cool again, it's going to take another half an hour. It's a big problem. Anyway, now, what is the next question?
I think, Dr. Dabir, I think there are 2-3 questions for me as far as that gown is concerned.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So I'll just give some explanation. That gown is reusable. It is autoclavable. So there is absolutely no problem in using it.
So no, the thing is, you use the gown and then how do you look after it? How do you clean it? How do you submerge it?
Keep it in the sodium hypochlorite solution for 5 minutes, and then straight away put it for the wash. It can be autoclaved, so nothing goes wrong with the gown material for many uses.
All right. So this one must remember that all this must be done in the clinic only. Your laundry must not be taken home. See that your gowns are cleaned, used in sodium hypochlorite solution, immersed in sodium hypochlorite solution, washed, dried, autoclaved, and this all thing must be done at the clinic itself.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah, can I see? Smita joined. Smita from Sacramento is here. Hi, Smita. Very good. And Anubhai, anybody wants any other question?
No, there is one question for me and for Radha. Can you share a format of the consent form? In fact, the declaration form I had already sent on our group, my associate union. But if you want, I can send it again. That's why at the end of my presentation, I have written my WhatsApp number. Those who want those guidelines or the format for the declaration, I can send that skeleton and you can make some changes as per your requirement. My WhatsApp number was given, or you can contact me or you can contact Dr. Dabir, Mukul, Jayesh, anyone, and we'll send you that declaration form again.
Darshan, there is a question for you about what is better. Is it better? What material is better for flooring, tiles or carpet?
Yeah, so ideally, all dental offices should have tile floors, not carpet floors. One of the offices that we have still has carpet floors, and we are in the process of replacing them to tile floors. But I don't think anybody in India has carpet on their floors. So tile floors is the way to go. It's just so much easier to clean it. The advantage of the hypochlorous acid over things like hypochlorite or all other disinfectants is that your carpet is safe. It doesn't affect your carpet, and it sits into the carpet and sinks into the carpet. So it also disinfects the carpet. So, at this point in time, I'm not ripping out the floors tomorrow, but we are in the process of replacing them.
Yeah, Deepak, this is a very good question. Good question. Thank you. Deepak, this is a good question for you because we are used to formalin as fumigation. First thing is, should you fumigate your clinic? And if you fumigate, why not use formalin?
See, there is another by Raman and Well company. There is a material called as Microbac Fort, and they give a machine also, and then they give the amount of this particular liquid to be used as per the cubic feet area, and it is used in majority of the hospitals. So you can use it as per your requirement, and it is easily available. I'll put the name and the photo on our WhatsApp group.
Very good, very good. Very good.
The formalin fumigation, yes, we used to do in the beginning with potassium permanganate and formalin, but then it will require a large, depending upon the area of your clinic. If your clinic area is very large, you will require a large amount of formalin, and that might give a burning. It is a time-tested procedure, but now there are other procedures also available. Now, as far as the cleaning of the floor is concerned, as I showed in my slide, there is a sodium hypochlorite which is available between 4% and 6%. 1 liter of ordinary water and 15 cc of this particular concentrate is used to clean the floor. Keep the floor wet for 1 minute, and then later on you can put your fans or AC on. That is because as the Americans have the carpet in their clinic, we do not have. So that these tiles need to be cleaned with sodium hypochlorite. You can do it twice a day also, before we starting the practice and at the end of the practice.
Yeah. And another sad thing is, like chloroform, formalin has also come under a cloud. That is, there is fear that it may be carcinogenic. That's why now that the best is to avoid formalin in the current milieu. Now there is a question. Yeah, another interesting question is, you are talking of 1,000 square feet clinics and all that, Darshan. In India, the clinics are not so large. Maybe at Pune, but in Bombay, majority of clinics are few hundred square feet. So probably the calculations will have to.
No, actually, 10 by 10 is 100 square feet.
Yeah, but you talked about 1,000 square feet, better.
1,000 cubic feet.
I see.
So length by width by height. So if you have a 10 foot ceiling, that's 10 by 10 by 10. So it's 1,000 cubic feet.
Oh, I see. You're talking about cubic feet. All right. Wonderful. So that is the minimum. Very good. Very good. Okay. So I think calculation should be done by people who are good at maths. I am not good. It's obvious. Uh, what is the use, Darshan, Radha, and Deepak? What? How? Where everybody is asking that you should use pulse oximeter.
Yes.
Are you guys using it in US to screen a patient?
We are not everybody is consistently doing it, but I think it's a very good initial indicator of problems with oxygen exchange. But I think Dr. Kulkarni can probably educate us better.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. See, we are doing it. We are doing both the thing. The contactless thermometer, we are recording as soon as the patient and the accompanying person enters your clinic, and we record the pulse of the SpO2 also on the pulse oximeter, and most importantly, we record it on our case paper also. The reason behind that, the probably because of the coronavirus, the oxygen binding capacity of the hemoglobin may be less, so SpO2 may be less. So, if it is below 90%, then you suspect. But of course, there are other reasons for SPO to be low, like COPD or something. But we are not here to diagnose whether the patient has any illness or anything. We are here to suspect. As we keep on telling our students that, like, you are not here to treat diabetes, but you are here to suspect that patient has diabetes, hypertension, some other disease. Similarly, here also, you are, as for in this particular pandemic era, you are supposed to suspect that whether patient is sick, whether patient is healthy, or patient needs any further consultation from the physician. We do it regularly with pulse oximeter and the infrared contactless thermometer. Yes.
Okay,
आयडिया देतो मी तुम्हाला एक व्हिडिओ पाठवतो. तिथे एक अॅनेस्थेटिस्ट आहेत, त्यांनी ना असं हुड केलं, अशाच कापडाचं पीपीच्या कापडाचं हुड करून घेतलंय विथ ट्रान्सपरंट हे. मी त्याचा एक तुम्हाला व्हिडिओ पाठवतो. इनफॅक्ट तुम्ही तसंही मॅन्युफॅक्चर करू शकता. म्हणजे आम्हाला ते वगैरे तर घेतलंय, आम्ही वापरू, पण सांगू ना एवढं सगळं करून ते आम्ही जर जोपर्यंत कम्फर्टेबल होत नाही ना, तोपर्यंत आम्ही चांगलं काम नाही करू शकणार. सो हा.
Okay. You get, yeah, that's another interesting point is how comfortable are you wearing this PPE? The general complaint is after wearing the PPE, one starts sweating in 15-20 minutes and N95 mask, concentration of carbon dioxide, and you start getting a headache.
मेजर इश्यू आहे. मी पेशंटला सांगितलं, बाबा रे, मी तुला बघितलं, नुसतं चेकअप केलं तरी मला 1300 रुपयाचं पीपी किट आणि सगळं वापरायचंय, माझ्या 4च्या व्यतिरिक्त तुला हे द्यायचंय, तर तू नाहीच म्हणणार आहे.
Yeah, Nitin, there are people who can't follow Marathi. Use English. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Nitin is talking about billing. That's another aspect.
नाही शक्यच. आणखीन एक तुम्हाला सजेशन देतो की तुम्ही हे जे ओटीचं गाऊनचं जे केलंय ना, त्याच ओटी गाऊनचं त्याच्याबरोबर एक छोटी पिशवी घ्या. आम्ही आता काय विचार केला, ओटी गाऊन मी काढला, तुम्ही घरी घेऊन येणार धुवायला, कारण क्लिनिकमध्ये आपल्या सगळ्यांची मुंबईमध्ये आता जे युरोप आणि ह्याच्यामध्ये जे दाखवतात की काही व्हिडिओ मी बघितले फेसबुकवर, त्यांची 2,000 स्क्वेअर फूटची क्लिनिक आहे. अहो, त्यामुळे अगं 2,000 स्क्वेअर फूटचं घरं नाही आहेत, तर क्लिनिक कसलं असणार आहे 2,000 स्क्वेअर फूटचं? नाही, त्याच्याकरता ऑटोक्लेव्ह तर करणारच आम्ही, पण त्याच्यात धुवायला पाहिजे. सो आम्ही काय विचार केला की ओटी गाऊन करता कापडी पिशवी घ्यायचा आणि तो लगेच त्या कापडी पिशवीत टाकायचा, आणि घरी आल्यानंतर साबणाच्या ह्याच्यातच ती पिशवी आणि कापडीची पिशवी डायरेक्ट त्याच्यात टाकायची. म्हणजे माझा हात कमीत कमी त्यात धुणं लागेल.
अरे नितीन,
Nitin, can I interrupt? Dr. Dabir, can I?
नाही, आम्ही सध्या काय करतो, सध्या आपल्याला त्या डीमार्ट मधल्या पिशव्या मिळतात ना, त्या आम्ही वापरतो.
ऐकून काय करतो.
Hello, Nitin Bhatt. Is that Nitin Bhatt?
ते वरचं आमचे प्लास्टिक आहे.
By the way, चाललंय.
We can't see you. You unmute your, you can't see your video, we can't.
आम्ही तर सध्या काय करतो हा
Hello, who's speaking, please? We can't make out. Nitin Bhatt?
नाही झालं आता दुसरं कोणतरी.
So I'm sorry. Since we were not able to contact Dr. Nitin, but I've muted him. But I think he was trying to. The one thing that I caught was essentially taking off your gowns and putting it in a bag that's washable, and that's exactly what's recommended. So if you can't provide laundry services at your clinic, if you don't work in a hospital, if you you're not able to provide laundry services inside your clinic, then yes, that is definitely the way to go, is to get a washable bag. Put all those gowns in that washable bag, so you can wash the bag along with the gowns.
Darshan, we are trying to prepare a big bag out of this raincoat material. No, seriously, because there are few visiting oral surgeons who cannot wash those gowns in someone else's dental clinic. So this was a practical difficulty expressed to me by one of the visiting oral surgeons, and we have already ordered to that lady that please prepare big bags out of this particular thing. So as the whole thing can be dumped into the washing machine.
I think Dr. Kulkarni, what everybody wants now is the contact for that lady.
No, they have to contact Dr. Kulkarni. They cannot go.
Okay. Yeah, but these are practical difficulties. But as far as possible, I would highly recommend that you don't bring your contaminated stuff home. It's not safe. You have to find some other alternative there. Near the clinic, find some place where it can be washed. It's absolutely not safe. And it's a very good idea using reusable material. Like cotton gowns, or this the one Dr. Deepak Kulkarni advised, recommended, the one with it has some impermeable front, so you can reuse them. Reusable is always good, because we must not increase our disposable stuff, and we are kind of cutting down trees to use paper. So it's definitely a good idea to reuse your caps. But masks, I think masks have to be of a better material like M95 and all that. But how do you find it, Radha, breathing through M95 mask? How is it?
Initially, it takes time to get used to it, but eventually you do get used to it. So now I can work 4-5 hours without any difficulty wearing the N95 mask. We wear 2 masks. So we wear an N95 mask. On top of that, I wear a surgical mask. So the surgical mask we discard in between, and an N95 we keep on for the whole session.
I see. So for like you have done procedures which lasted for how many minutes? Have you gone over an hour for one procedure, or less than 1 hour?
No, just because we were doing only emergency procedures, so it is not. It didn't exceed an hour. It's usually within half an hour.
Very good. So, my dear friends, I think most questions are over. So let us quickly refresh our minds as to the sequence of how you treat a patient when the patient comes into your waiting area. Radha, can you just quickly brush through the steps?
Yes. So first we do a teleconsultation. If that is not possible, we ask. So we usually we in the hospital we have a huge hall, so where social distancing is possible and it's not an issue. We do not let patients sit in our small reception area of the dental OPD. We take the patient directly into the operatory after signing the consent form and the declaration form.
No, but wait. What do you do? Ask the patient to wash his face, ask him to gargle it, chloride. What do you do?
We ask the patient to sanitize their hands with the sanitizer after they walk into the OPD and after they walk into the operator. So
would
after
it not be a good
sanitizing,
idea to ask? Rather, would it not be a good idea to ask the patient to wash it face with soap, face and hands up to elbows with soap and water. What about footwear? Do you ask the
Yes,
patient to
but
take footwear?
yes,
So
footwear
please
we
look
ask the
at.
patient. Yes,
So good. So we ask, it's a good idea. We can modify our care. We can ask what Darshan said is also there is a point. If you ask the patient to wash his face and hands and all that, then
correct, correct.
there'll be
There'll
lot
be
of
water all around the sink,
yeah.
and then cleaning will be an issue. So we
Ah.
usually use sanitizer and not soap and water. So once they
Yeah,
sit into the chair, then we do an extraoral scrub. We ask the patient to rinse his mouth, and before starting the procedure, we do a round of high vac suction. We just move it around, and then we start with the procedure.
okay, fine, fine.
So
But before that, how do you prepare the chair? Do you put disposable covers on the chair?
No, we don't put disposable covers. We wipe the chair with sodium hypochlorite solution
Sodium hypochlorite everywhere, huh?
everywhere.
Okay, and then on the group you will get the concentrations, what is to be used for floor, what for
Correct.
wiping the chair, what for gargling, you will get all these details on the group. Okay, now consultation is over, your treatment is done, and then you
So
give instructions.
correct.
Ask the patient to, I like your idea, you ask the patient to take a picture of instructions with his camera. So
Yes.
there is no worry that he's lost the paper.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
And there is
and then
no
the patient
contact
walks
also.
out. Okay, now
Sorry.
how do you prepare the room after the patient goes out? What do you do?
After the patient goes out, we clean. There's a boy who is ready with the solution and the spray bottle to spray hypochlorite everywhere. Leave it for a minute or two and then wipe it or let it
You
dry.
mean the fogger?
It's not the fogger. It's normal
Is a
sodium
fogger?
hypochlorite solution in a bottle, spray bottle.
Yeah, that is a fogger. Yeah, you fogging and sodium. You nobody is using hypochlorous acid, no, as it?
We are not using. I'm not sure
No,
about
okay, fine. And the patient goes out. Wonderful. Then how do you exchange air exchange and all that? How is it done?
it. Air exchange, I think we are still figuring out.
Okay, okay, fine, fine. Okay,
Cross
all
ventilation. So there are doors on both sides of the OPD which are kept open. So it kinds of serves as a cross ventilation.
yeah. See, the hospital is a different setup. It's a very big setup. There
Correct.
are, large areas. But what about clinics which are, say, 150, 200 square feet clinic, which has a very small waiting area in the clinic? Uh,
So there was an idea which somebody had put up, a table fan and an exhaust that
yeah,
works.
that's a good idea.
Fan put in the other direction, then exhaust fan.
Yeah, there's the suggestion is that they put a table fan behind the operator so the
Behind the
air is,
operator and the correct and the exhaust in front of the
patient
operator.
does not, yeah, patient does not breathe into the operator and there is an
Correct.
exhaust fan behind the patient so the air is sucked. It's a very practical and nice idea.
So
Anybody
in
from
case
the
you do
group,
not have
anybody
any
wants?
cross ventilation, then you can think about this option.
Yeah, good, good. Thank you, my dear Radha. Anybody wants to add any point? Anyone wants to contribute? Paresh, do you want to give some any suggestions, Paresh?
Paresh is coming online. Please.
Yeah.
Sir,
All that long procedure interesting. Some input from you.
sir, nothing in particular. I'm sorry. We had two computers going on, so the sound became very funny. So there's nothing in particular that is different from what has been already talked about. Is what I've been following. I've done almost all the procedures, including root canals and some crown preps and some implant placements and impressions for implants. and with the only problem is the time that is taken to conduct these procedures. It just takes so much longer to prepare the patient and then clean the operatory for the next patient. So that is the only issue that there is. The point is not to get back to the efficiency levels. The point is to get back in some kind of an action. That's all that that's the only way that I look at the present situation and the efforts to have some sense of normalcy. What are you listening? Everybody's lost. You're on. Can't hear, see anything. The gile, line gile.
अच्छा.
Dabir was no audio. Yeah, lost everything.
Sound like I'm looking. Okay.
I think I think everybody's coming back.
तो कोणाला जाऊन देऊ.
हॅलो. हा सर. हा मला वाटते लाईन गेलीस. आय थिंक द मीटिंग इज काइंड ऑफ गॉट ड्रॉप्ड or several people have lost the connection. But I can. Oh.
Can you hear me, Ruchira?
Yes, I can.
Yes,
Can you
you're
hear me?
audible now.
Yes, I can hear you.
I think there was some problem. I think everybody went blank for a minute, but I think we're back. So is Dr. Pankaj here? Ruchira, you're the host. I'm going to mute myself.
Can we transfer it? I mean, it's transferable, I think.
Yeah, on my dashboard it says that you're the host.
Oh, is it? Okay. Okay. If you take it to yourself, or it's okay. Hello?
You say the host. You know this format better than I do. You say the host, please.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So doctor, I think doctor is muted. I just had to mute him.
Boss,
Doctor, can you hear us? Doctor, can you hear us?
Yeah, he can. Paresh, I can hear you.
Yeah.
we're back on. At least most of us are back on.
Let others mute.
I think everybody is muted, sir.
Go ahead, Paresh. Go ahead.
Okay, so what I said was that the protocol that Dr. Deepak Kulkarni discussed is the one that that I've been following. With that protocol followed, I have done almost all the procedures that we normally do. It is just that the time that it takes to prepare a patient, and then the time that it takes after completion of the procedure, the time that it takes to prepare the operatory once again for the next patient to arrive into that operatory is much longer than what we are used to. So the way I am looking at it is not to have any sense of normalcy with respect to the efficiency with which we work in our practices, but to have a clinic operational for our mental sanity and to have staff some purpose and start living our lives as close to normal as possible. I've done almost all kinds of procedures. I've done some restorations, some endos, crowns and bridges, some implant placements with some bone grafting as well, and some implant prosthetic procedures as well. So I'm kind of doing almost everything on a much lower, shall we say, pace. Is that what you were expecting me to say, sir?
Yeah, what do you do with this disposable stuff you use? How do you dispose it?
Well, we're using the same. I'm using the same, shall we say, gown and patient drapes that Dr. Kulkarni showed. These are made of cotton or terracotta with a waterproof cover on top. So what we've been doing is I have several sets. I have about 6 sets of 3 gowns each. That means one for myself and two for 2 assistants. Each set means a cap, 2 masks, a gown, and then drapes, 2 drapes for the patient, a head cap and a cover for the chair. So I've got 6 sets of these. So after every use, this is what I've been following. Before every set goes into any kind of laundering or otherwise, we undo the sets and put it in the same drum that it came out from, and it goes straight into the autoclave. So it's autoclaved before any handling or processing is done. I've got
Okay.
6 such sets. So that's
Very good.
making me do almost everything adequately.
Yeah, but then you have a big laundry, you have a washing machine there, and you put all this into sodium hypochlorite solution. For how long do you immerse these gowns in the sodium hypochlorite solution?
5 minutes, sir.
Not more than 5. Bleach.
Is 5 minutes adequate?
Yeah. Otherwise, the cloth gets bleached.
And I think at the concentrations that we are using, 1 minute on the floor, 1 minute on the surface is supposed to be adequate.
All right. And what about your instruments? How long do you immerse them?
Well, as soon as the instruments are taken away from the operatory, they straight go into a bath which has glutaraldehyde solution. They sit there for 15 minutes, after which they are picked up from there and put into an ultrasonic bath, where they sit for some 12-minute cycle, following which they come out into the washing tub, where they're scrubbed and washed. By which time they've been sitting in some kind of a disinfectant for more than half an hour, with an ultrasonic cycle having gone through. So they are kind of debrided. All the sticky matter is gone, with a chemical, shall we say, disinfection. Once they are cleaned, they are, shall we say, sorted and put into pouches and etc. And then they go into an autoclave.
So the choice of disinfectant you use is glutaraldehyde for these
That's right.
instruments.
So
Very good.
Corsolex, the one that Dr. Kulkarni mentioned, what is it?
Bacillocin.
Bacillocin. These are all Corsolex aldehyde based, and there are some non-aldehyde based chemical disinfectants as well.
Very good. Excellent.
Dr. Dabir,
Yeah, Deepak.
I just want to say, those who are on the line, those who want to order the gowns, the cost is 850 rupees inclusive of GST. Unfortunately, the raw material and the tailor is based in the cantonment area of Pune. So for next 10 days at least you won't be able to get these. So already my order of another 55 gowns is pending, but I can definitely provide it by say end of this month, and the check will directly go to the dealer. There is no middleman here. I'm just going to convey. So those who want, then give them my number, or I can just now say those who want to write down 9822023989. I repeat, 9822023989. So those who want to put the order, please put your name. Send me the order. I'll give a collective order to that lady, and then once your gowns are ready, probably I'll ask you to collect it from Pune and pay by check directly to the lady, not to me.
Yeah, and your number is there on our group also, and
Yes.
my associates, the Union group is there.
Yes.
So I think we have done well. Darshan has done a great job. Thank you for getting up early, my boy. And Radha doesn't work on Saturday, so good. She is here, and thank you, Radha, and my dear Deepak and Paresh. Great, you guys have done a great job. So we all thank you. So switch on your microphone. Video cameras, please, for a minute. All of you, can you switch on your video cameras. Those who are there. Okay. I wish to thank you guys. Thank you very much. We clap and thank you all. Thank you all for doing a great job. And let's see. So
Thank you,
I
sir.
think yeah.
Thank you,
Very
sir.
good. Thank you. Thank you. You can thank the guys who spoke. Great.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Hi, Darshan. Very nice seeing you.
Good to see everybody. Good to see everybody.
Keep up.
Thank you.
Keep up. Okay. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank
I-
you.
Good, nice experience. First time we held this kind of meeting, and of course we are learning the ropes. We didn't know that we cannot accommodate more than 100 people on Apex. So if anytime in future we will take care. All right.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Good night. Have a nice dinner.
Thank you.
Right. Right. Hi, Jay. Jay, hi, Jay, अभी दिखा.
हाँ जयेश भाई, तू क्या कैप डाल के बैठा है क्या? उल्टा कैप डाल के बैठा है, ऐसा करता है? दाढ़ी वाड़ी बहुत बड़ा है.
Jayesh looks like a movie star with his cap, his little stubble. You look like a movie star.
He is. Why not?
Why not?
We're missing Mukul. Mukul is busy in his society meeting. Otherwise, Mukul would have been here.
All right, very good.
Okay.
Very good, very good. Deepa, so good to see you. Dr. Kale, good to see you. Jayesh, awesome. Dr. Himanshu. Radha, that was fantastic.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye, bye, everybody. Okay, thank you very much.
आता लोकांना रेकॉर्डिंग पाहिजे.